where it's personal, it's fun,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's why I'm having a lot of people that I love and admire on my show because it's like kind of a mini diary. It's like a
Yeah,
mini diary that I get to have. It's a passion project of mine. So,
yeah, sounds good.
and I'm excited that you are my first family member on this show.
Yay, I'm honored. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to 30, Flirty, and Nerdy. Today I have my cousin Alana. I'm so excited because Alana and I are pretty close. We grew up together, around the same age, family visits, family vacations, all of that fun stuff. Alana and I kind of went through high school around the same times. Alana's 31, I'm 30. So, like, we have a lot of similarities, like, millennial type of stuff in common. So I felt very close to you growing up. So I'm really excited that you're on.
I'm
And
excited
yeah,
too. Yeah, I mean, our moms have always been really close, so I
yeah,
feel like Carmel and I got a chance to know you and Jillian like really well when we were little, and that's kind of like kept up. And a lot of my vacations when I was little were like just to go visit wherever you were living.
yeah,
So, and that's kind of kept up too. So it's a good thing. I'm excited to be on your podcast.
it is. I'm excited too. And one of the things that I love about you is that we are very nerdy and we love Broadway. We love Harry Potter. We love to read. I felt I connected with you in that way as well. Like we're both very fantastical, I guess you could say. And no one really I felt like no one understood what we like the fandoms that we were into,
Mhm.
like the obsession over Harry Potter and musicals
Yeah.
and things like that. And I felt like I could really talk to you about that because you understood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's always been nice that we can connect about those things. And yeah, I agree that I don't know that our family has always really understood our like deep love for yeah, for like fiction and like you
Mhm.
said Broadway and nerdy things. Those things bring joy and they are good. So
Yeah.
I feel no shame in liking them.
Yay, me too. And that's again why I think I feel close to you because I could geek out about that stuff. And it's not like,
Yeah.
what the hell are you talking about? Type of
It's
thing.
always a safe space to geek out over things with me.
Yes. And as you mentioned, that I'm sure like not a lot of people know, but Alana lives in New York and I live in Las Vegas. And so we've always been, West Coast, East Coast. We've always lived so far away from each other growing up. I lived in Georgia, you lived in New Jersey. So like you said, a lot of our visitations were like vacations, visitation
Yeah.
vacations. I like that. That's actually so funny. Okay. So where was I going with this? Okay, I remember that when you just got out of high school, you're like, I'm going to go to New York. New York was your thing that you wanted to do 100% of the time. I just remember you're like, I'm going to New York. Nothing can stop me. And you did it. You went to New York and you've been there for how many years now? Like 10?
Not quite 10. And so I didn't end up going right after high school, but after college, I did move to Brooklyn eventually. I think it's been this year, it was 8 years that I've been living in New York City. First in
Yeah.
Brooklyn and now in Queens.
So just shy of 10, but it's still, a long time.
It is a long time. I think I'll hit 10 before leaving. I think like leaving is probably going to happen at some point, but I think I'll hit 10 years before that happens.
That's
But it's been
awesome.
a while. Yeah.
Most of your like young 20s and mid 20s, right? Is in New York.
Yeah, I moved here when I was 23. Yeah, the majority of my 20s was spent here.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like this is where the Broadway musical comes in? When you were like living in New York and starting to turn like 30, right? Did you ever feel like that show or musical Tick Tick Boom from Jonathan Larson, where it's like 30 is coming up and there's the ticking in the back of your head, like, oh my God, I haven't done anything like, famous yet. I haven't been on Broadway yet. I haven't like done all these different things yet. Like, have you ever felt that way because I know being in New York, there's so many like opportunities and so many things to do and stuff like that. Like, did you ever kind of feel that rush that the city provides when you're getting close to that age?
Yeah, I think I felt it more when I was in like my late 20s, so like maybe 26, 27.
Hmm.
When I first started kind of working at startups and I was around a lot of young people who were excited to be there and were excited to be getting into their careers, and our job became our life, and we hung out with the people that we worked with all the time, and it really became like my social circle, and my life was really just like going to work and happy hour and drinks after that and like
Hmm.
going home and doing it all again. And it felt like I was having a really good time. I was having a lot of fun. Also, it was a very stressful time. And I think I was moving faster than I like wanted to. Like I was aware that I was like having fun, but also there were other things that I didn't feel like I had together. Like I knew I wanted to advance my career, and I knew that I wanted to be dating someone, find someone to like be to partner with, and I really wanted to live in my own place and have my own apartment. And so I was going so fast that I didn't really like stop and think about like how to make myself like ready for those things. But I think it eventually kind of came together a little bit more like maybe 20, 28, 29, but also like 30, I used to think was a really big number when I was younger. It was very like, oh, I really do need to have my shit together by the time I'm 30. And I think by the time you hit your late 20s, you realize that there is no deadline at which you will have your shit together. I think it's just like incremental. So that's kind of how I approached it as I got closer to 30. I was just like, things are going pretty well. I was happy with where my life was by the time I turned 30. And yeah, there was that ticking, but also like I think I stepped back, I slowed down a little bit, and I made my life a little bit slower in a positive way. My like I don't know, my mental health was better. I started seeing a therapist, and I started taking antidepressants, and that really helped me kind of get my shit together and prioritize what I wanted in myself instead of kind of keeping up with everything else. So by the time 30 hit, the ticking slowed down actually a lot. Um, I don't feel as rushed to get through kind of the next kind of milestones that I have ahead of me, but they are there. There are things I want to do in my 30s that are like all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, like the big things are kind of right in front of me, but I feel less stressed about it, I guess.
I absolutely love that you said the ticking slowed down and kind of stopped when you turned 30. And then it's kind of like you kind of became, I don't know, like mature in a way about your mental health and getting things on the right track and just kind of like, okay, I gotta get, shit together. But getting your shit together like happened when you said you were kind of in your late 20s, which is very
Mhm.
important because I feel like a lot of people are in that space right now where they're either living at home, like me right now, or living, they feel like they're stuck. And it's like, oh, I'm 30. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should have all these things, in my back pocket that I could bring with me. But at the same time, they're still kind of like late bloomers, so to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I think the ticking slowed down. I think that kind of figuring I don't necessarily think that you have to like wait to 30 to start those things, right? Like if you feel I think that 30 is more of a like society puts a lot of pressure on 30. And I think especially for women, right? Because like in your 30s, you're nearing like the end of if you want to have kids, like there's a end to your like fertile window or something.
Yeah. And spotlight checks
Uh
me out a little bit.
so like that's a little stressful. I feel like there's a lot of like, oh, like you hit 30 as a woman if you or as like a person who could be pregnant. Um, like, is this something you want? Figure that out for yourself. So that I think is more societal pressure than pressure that I really put on myself. But yeah, I think you just I don't know. I think you have to consciously decide that like, oh, if there are things that you want in your future, what steps do you need to take to get that started? And if it happens at 30, after 30, before 30, like whatever it happens, it's totally fine. I think, but it's an important growing moment. Like, what matters to you? What do you want your life to look like? The sooner that you kind of take small steps to get to that point, I guess that's better. And I think that happened for me in my late 20s. Most of everything before was scattered, which also I don't have it all figured out now, but I have more figured out now than I did 4 years ago. So there's that.
So like I love that you said that you were felt scattered and then you have kind of like a plan. That's how I felt too. Like I felt like I was very, very like scattered, like, oh my God, like I don't know what I'm doing with my life, all this stuff. And now I kind of feel like, okay, I got a plan. This is how I'm gonna get from point A to point B. And if it doesn't go exactly like that, at least I know where I want to go. So like when you come up with a plan, do you normally write things down? Like do you journal it? Do you just kind of have it in your head? Like how do you go from point A to point B and you're like, all right, this is what I want to do, and then this is what I'm gonna accomplish, and kind of, get your goals like done. You know what I mean? Or are the goals kind of are like further out future and then immediate future type of thing? Like, does that question make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think the things that mattered to me over the past maybe like 5 to 7 years have like very much shifted. I think that I used to have, I used to feel like New York was it, right? Like I used to think that I was going to be in the city and I was going to like work and have fun. All of my friends ended up here. I really thought that that was like it. And then I realized that like, oh, actually, I don't need to be here necessarily. And also I think the pandemic like combined, I mean, pandemic hit and a few months later I turned 30. So there's a lot of things that slowed down whether I wanted them to or not. So it used to be like place I need to be here and I need to be working towards something or what have you. It's changed for me. I think meeting my boyfriend and realizing that, and also like getting like a remote like work from home job, and I realized I can kind of go outside of the city. I can be more flexible. I think it helped me kind of narrow down the things that are like have to happen versus like would be nice to happen. And like the thing that so my priority shifted. So the things that are most important to me now are like my little family here, like my partner and my cat. And we just moved into a new apartment together. And I think that those things have become more important than some of those, I don't know, the other things that I was like reaching for. I also think that I've kind of gotten lucky and like in my like job situation. Like I kind of fell into something that has been a positive experience and I've been able to find new jobs that kind of keep advancing me in this role in this field. But I think I'd be happy with something different or smaller. Like I don't necessarily think that like what I'm doing is the last thing I'll ever do. Like I feel much more like able to explore maybe different possibilities because the things that are really important to me feel very like grounded and set. So it kind of like frees me up to, I don't know, to try different things. So I don't know if I'm actually answering your question because I don't know that it has been very like my job's been a little bit linear, but if you would have asked me 3 years ago if I would be where I am right now, like I don't know that I would have said like with my partner for 2.5 years and in our 2 bedroom apartment, a block off the river in Astoria. Like I don't know that I would sell those things. So there is an element of like things kind of falling in place and a little bit of luck. But yeah, I wish I had like a better like do these things in order to be successful. But I don't know what those things are. I think I've gotten very lucky that I found something that I was kind of good at and I've been getting jobs with more money and I found Nick and he's great. And like I don't think that I did anything particularly special for those things to happen, except for in my late 20s, truly going to therapy and getting on meds. I will say they like it was a lifesaver. It was absolute lifesaver for me. I feel like I was able to just be easier in my own head and then get out of my own way about a lot of things. And that I think really set me up for some of the things that have happened in my life. And I've been in the right headspace to like receive them and make the most out of them. I recommend therapy to everyone. especially if you're like depressed or anxious. And if you're thinking about medication, it's been like very helpful for me. Didn't mean to make this about mental health, but really like me being where I am now and happy and feeling good about like the future of my existence. I like hope Nick is there like for it, all of it, but say he wasn't, like I'm still making myself whole, right? I'm starting off from a place of feeling very good. So I want people to like join me on that journey, obviously. But I think like taking the time to actually like figure my own shit out put me in the right place to like receive good things and to work on things that I wanted, like getting this job or whatever. So
And
yeah.
working on your mental health was the thing that kind of pushed you towards getting there, right? I
Yeah.
think it's so crazy you say that because I'm going through my own mental health journey. I don't think I've told you. And I'm becoming more open about it. So whoever's listening to this podcast, congratulations, you now know about this. But in the very beginning of the year, since January, I was very, very depressed. Just because like I just turned 30, my life flipped upside down. Everything around me was changing. I was just kind of like, at work I wasn't focused. I was just like in bed all the time. Like it was a really bad time for
Mhm.
me. And so I actually started seeing someone too, and I'm also on antidepressants and I've been going to therapy and stuff like that. And
Nice.
doing that, like you said, clarity. I am so much clearer that it's like, okay, I have goals now that I want to do. You know, I have things I want to see. Like I felt like, my mind's not so scrambled as it once was. Like you were
Yeah.
talking about, like you feel more put together in a way. It's kind of like taking all the puzzle pieces and it's just making a puzzle for you. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I never thought I needed anything like that. I never thought I needed anything mental health wise, or I always thought that, I'm just an emotional person. But the thing was, like, being able to talk it out with someone and being able to regulate your emotions makes you think so much clearer and makes you kind of understand the next steps of your life.
Yeah. I was all over the place in my like mid to late 20s
Yeah.
everywhere. And the like little things that shouldn't have mattered a lot.
Yeah.
Uh,
Same.
and that was tough. And that was like really stopping me from like the next parts of my life. And yeah, making that change for me, like it did put the puzzle pieces together, or just like it cleared out the clutter. And I was able to just like, I don't know, it was calming in a very good way. It made me, I think, like receptive to new jobs, to new people, to like new ways of thinking and being and thinking about my future. And um I'm very like I'm grateful for the people in my life who like told me I should go to therapy because they were right. I'm also grateful to myself that I always felt like I was too
Same.
late, like, oh, I'm starting too
Yeah.
late. But no, because I'm glad I started when I did, because now I'm like benefiting from it. So like it's just the getting started, like in a year from now, your future self will thank you at what
Yeah.
age you were at, I think.
It's kind of like when you just said it, where, oh no, it won't end in 10 minutes. We're gonna like, if it does, I'll give you a call back. But oh my god,
Okay.
what did you said something that I'm like, yes, and now I lost it.
Thinking I was too late to start.
Yes. So when you said that you're thinking you're too late to start, you're never too late to start anything. And I
Mhm.
love that you said that because people think, oh, I'm too late to do this, I'm too late to do that. We talked about Tick Tick Boom earlier. Jonathan Larson, he became, he started his Broadway career after he turned 30. Sadly, he passed away when Rent came out, but like he was able to actually, see a little bit of success because he still did it. He still went for it. And,
And it's also worth mentioning that 30 is still pretty young.
yeah, but it's weird. Like you said, society makes you think that it's
Yes.
older. Like
Yeah.
I still feel very young, but at the same time, I feel like, oh shit, I have a window because I want to have kids and I want to have like all of that stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh shit, like I can't be 40 having kids. That's so like crazy to me. you know what I mean? But it's
I mean, like, I think our bodies will do that. I think like 40 is okay. I think
I think
44.
so.
But also like I feel like how we were raised, even though
Yeah.
my mom had my sister at 35 and me at 33, I think I was always kind of like, oh, if you want this, you have to start sooner. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't, it's not just on me. Like I know I need to be in the right like spot. And I'm like I'm still not in the right spot for that yet. But
Yeah.
uh but 30 is like it's young. Like we have a lot of time ahead of us and a lot of like you think about where our parents, our moms were at 30 and like what that decade looked like for them, what 40 looked
Yeah.
like for them. Like a lot of change, right? And
Mhm.
I think like it is still young. I think like you would look back and go like, oh, 30, like you're still figuring it out. And I also don't think that you get to a point where you have it figured out. I think that you
Mhm.
just get better at everything, maybe. It's just more
Yeah.
experience, like more it's I don't think you ever reach a place of like, oh, I've got this down. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm there, but I've got some things down. Like some things are going okay. So I guess that's good.
Yeah. No, it's really good because like we're still trying to figure everything out, and there's still time. There, there's still time left. I'm seeing what time left there is at 7:08, but I'm saying like in general,
You
there's
still have
still
time.
time left like
Yes,
in our life.
we're
So
young.
yeah,
We're not as young as we could be, but we are young.
we are. I just thought of a song and I can't think of it, but it's like the song "We Are Young." Like we definitely are. I believe, I think that's good. Like everything you said, people are in your spot, people are in my spot, and it's just like we're young. And so, speaking of young, like, what advice would you give to your younger self if you could about being 30?
What advice would I give? I would probably tell myself to like go to therapy sooner, but that's okay because I eventually went. About being 30. I think like 30 isn't, I would tell like 25-year-old me that like 30 isn't a magic age. Like you won't have to have your shit together by the time you turn 30. And also turning 30 doesn't mean that you will then magically figure stuff out. Like I think it's all a work in progress. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay that it's like that I didn't have all my ducks in a row and I still don't. And I'm still figuring it out. But in the meantime, like I pay my bills, I have a home, like I have a cat and a boyfriend that I love. And those are all good things. Like I don't know what happens in the next 5 years from now. I have things that I want to happen, but I think I'm more flexible as long as like certain things are in place. So I don't know. I think I would give myself the advice that like it's just step by step and 30 isn't as scary as everyone has told you it might be.
Mm. I love that. Thank you. I think a lot of people would be very thankful to hear that as well, because I wish I knew that when I was 25. I wish I knew that, being like, okay, 30 is just a number, it's not like
Yeah.
when you're 30 something magical happens and you're like, oh, but yeah, no, that I wish I had someone tell me that when I was younger. So that's amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I wish I could tell my kids that too, but that's okay.
Well,
Everyone needs to get there on their own almost, It's like you won't believe
yeah.
if I did tell 25-year-old me like what my life looks like now, she wouldn't believe me. She would also probably be drunk. Like she would live in a different existence than like almost 32-year-old me.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to like you figure it out. Like you can tell yourself all you want, right? Or you can tell other people too, right? But I think people have to get there on their own to like for it to stick.
I love that. Thank you so much for that and for being on today and just for being my second guest on my podcast and being an awesome cousin. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you for having me. Thank you for facilitating my podcast debut.
Yay, woo! It's fun. You're gonna
Yay.
become addicted, probably. I don't know, but yeah.
Hey friends, thank you for listening to today's episode. Please take a moment to follow and review this podcast so it could reach others. Also, if you leave a review, I'll be sharing your review in the next episode. Lastly, if you want to be part of this growing podcast, chat about your life, your profession, passions, or if you have advice that you wish you had at 30, please sign up at the link provided in the show notes. I would love to have you as a guest on the show. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.